So I'm gonna ask you some questions, and then you're gonna answer them while I pour myself a drink. Okay?
Yeah, sure. I've got a new red stripe on, so I'm good to go.
Perfect, perfect. Well, cheers, virtually. Right, hold on.
This is the closest to socialising that I get on an
That's
average
because
week.
you
So,
live. That's because you work at home. I've got a small chat 20 times a day. Right. Stefan asks transfers, premiums, or keep barring injuries. Kevin De Bruyne, keep or sell.
yeah.
And the next question is, are you planning on getting Oba in? And Liam asks, let's talk about Dave's alcohol problem. So, in your own time, mate.
Yeah, well, I am worried about you, Dave, and I'm glad that Liam's brought it up because it's the elephant in the stream. It's uh, it's
I
I
only
say
drink.
this as you're pouring yourself another drink.
I
Clearly, the
only.
message not getting in, but yeah.
I mean, you can be worried all you want. It's not. It's not going to do anything. No, I only drink when I need to.
Well, you drink when you're streaming, but you
I drink when
stream
I'm
quite
streaming.
frequently.
I stream. I drink before every podcast I record with you guys, just to calm the nerves and make sure I don't say anything too disgusting. Um,
Yeah. To respond to some of those FPL-based questions, yeah, like generally speaking, I suppose I'd say resist rotating your premiums as a principle that maybe should underpin your season. Is that if you choose your premiums at the start of the season, unless something like injury happens or unless the player falls out of favour, there really should be no reason to rotate your premiums. And although obviously in the short term there's going to be temptation to do that, in the long run, generally speaking, you're rewarded for keeping hold of your premiums. And the classic example of this, unfortunately, is not in the league anymore, but Eden Hazard was a great example
oh, I
of
loved
why
it.
you shouldn't rotate your premiums because he was notorious for performing whenever people got rid of him and and blanking when people had him and captained him. And so I feel like with the likes of we're spoiled at the moment because we have several premium midfielders, and this hasn't always been the case in FPL.
That
We've
that
got
that are just
several,
banging. That are absolutely banging
well,
right now.
several, but also they're midfielders, but they're playing as forwards, and
Mm,
this isn't something that's always been. Yeah, this is a privilege that 3 or 4
absolutely.
seasons ago wasn't really as prominent a thing. We have the likes of Sterling and Salah who very blatantly play as part of a front three, but as far as FPL are concerned, they're midfielders. So I think if you've got them, keep them. With Aubameyang, it is tricky because having said all of that, one of the most burning questions that I've had this game week is should I get rid of Salah and bring in Aubameyang? Because I've read all these ridiculous stats about Aubameyang recently. He's obviously in incredible form. His fixtures are probably the best I've ever seen in a run in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
gonna jump into
10.
our fixture tracker just for now.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, do. I think I might be mistaken, but I feel like there's 9 good fixtures in a row, more or less, until I think eventually Arsenal play Man City. But
Have you ever
until
used
that point,
Have you ever used this? It's called it's Tableau, and it's a good way to put stats and stuff together. Have you ever seen it?
no,
I
I've
use this
seen the
all the
website, but not
time.
this particular.
So this is Tim Byers, and I use this constantly, right? And it's amazing. So you can put whatever
Nice.
game week you want to start, and you can put how many game weeks up to 10. So I've put 9 in there because I recognize that if you put 10 in, they're playing Man City, right? But even still, for 10 weeks, 10 game weeks, there are Arsenal are second in our fixture tracker, right? And then
Yeah,
if
and
you
then
take Man City
nine
out,
it.
they're top of the league. Um, and I recognize actually, so this particular tracker, I've actually seen teams have an easy run as like 63 out of 100. Playing Man City's like a 90, playing Liverpool's a 98. That's kind of how they work the math.
Hmm.
But over the next 9 game weeks, no one has anything lower than 70 except for 69, which is one of the big reasons why I went absolutely budget at the back. Just because everyone has a difficult run. But you're right, Arsenal have such a good run. Bournemouth at home, Crystal Palace at home, Wolves at home. Those aren't particularly good defenses, especially Wolves and Bournemouth. Crystal Palace are good like when they're at home, but away they're kind of just toothless, right?
Hmm.
Sheffield's always a
Hmm.
difficult game. Leicester a difficult game, but apart from that, Southampton, Norwich, Brighton at home, and West Ham away. West Ham away might be their worst fixture, maybe other than
Yeah,
Leicester.
it's tricky, but it's not necessarily tricky for goal scorers. I think
Right,
I don't. You
exactly.
wouldn't expect them to keep a clean sheet there necessarily, but you probably would expect Arsenal to score.
Yeah. So what are you doing then? What are you planning on doing for your? Let me just close your. Let me just close a bunch of this shit here. We've already done your life. I don't need to do it again. Right,
Yeah,
open.
I was going to say, yeah, let's leave that one behind. Yeah, I mean, so you can see my team there, bless its heart.
Hmm.
I'm actually not going to make a transfer this week. So
And why would you?
Cantwell will play, and Lundstrom will come in for KDB. Kevin De Bruyne, that was another question, wasn't it, that was asked. For me, we don't know enough about his injury yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume because we've got the international break after game week 8. If he's injured and it's not serious, he'll be back for game week 9. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's one game week.
So
You
he's
know,
not playing then, because a lot of people are playing their wild card, and I'm assuming some people maybe have brought in Kevin De Bruyne literally last game week. They've got the 9 points from him. He's now injured. They have the chance to take him out for 1 week only. If you were in that bracket, I'm assuming you'd probably do it as well, right? I don't think it's
no, definitely not. Definitely not, Dave, actually. And I'll tell you for why.
just in case he plays.
I tell you, but well, firstly, that yeah, you never know with Pep, so there's that. But even if he doesn't, and even if we had some guarantee that he wasn't going to play, I still wouldn't take him out for one game week because over the course of an international break, we know as FPL managers what can happen, right? You know, we've all been there with an international break. Suddenly, 3 of your players are injured. Aguero travels to Argentina for his fixtures. Sterling will probably play 90 minutes in both England fixtures. And before you know it, you've got fatigued, injured players in your squad.
Yeah.
It's a real luxury to be able to transfer. If you're in a position where you can transfer out Kevin De Bruyne, probably the best value for money FPL player in the game at the moment for one game week, and bring him back in the next game week without taking a hit, you're an incredibly privileged position. But I
Yeah.
would wager that most people have bigger problems in their squad, and
Exactly.
I would deal with those first. For example, me, maybe it's actually Kelly played last week, but he was an issue for me. Kelly was probably my next transfer because he was a 4 million defender not playing, and there are 4 million defenders like Rico who are playing. So he probably would have been the player I address next. But as it stands, lucky enough, Kelly played. So happy days. I've got a full playing bench. I'm going to just hold fire for now. As tempting as Aubameyang is.
Are you worried about having double Liverpool defence coming up? You've got Leicester, Man United, Tottenham, then an Aston Villa fixture who have not parked the bus yet, so still a difficult
No,
fixture.
no.
And then Man City, obviously, game week 12. Are you worried about that at all?
Yeah, I think you're right to point out Villa. I think I'd rather have Tottenham at home as a double Liverpool defence owner
Oh, yeah.
than Villa away. I think the way that Spurs are at the moment.
Fucking McGinn!
I guess it's I guess it's a I guess
We
I
have to
guess it's
shout because we don't have many, okay?
yeah, no, hey man, you do
Tierney
you
Tierney
do.
got an assist today. I don't know if he
If
got
we
two. I'm gonna check.
if we were talking about St Johnston, I'd be all over that shit. Yeah, you're right. But yeah,
Oh
McGinn,
yeah.
Robertson, Tierney, anyone else from Scotland's making waves at
Uh,
the moment?
Not in the Premier League. No.
No, bless her hearts, bless her hearts.
Shut the fuck. Oh, honestly, I'll
Uh,
choke you to death. I swear to
and
God.
with regards to double Liverpool defence, obviously the fixture run isn't great, and that's really why I'm looking at Salah
Yeah.
with a question mark over his head. I don't like their fixtures. When you're spending 12.5 million on a midfielder, do you want to be able to captain every week? Yes, you do. That's why I'm worried about Salah. The defenders, however, I'm not that worried about. Firstly, because Alisson is on the road to recovery. It wouldn't surprise me to see him in game week 9.
Yeah.
Secondly, Liverpool's record against top 6 sides is actually pretty good.
Really good. A lot of people kind of it almost seems like they're both in the same camp. Like, look, you don't attack a lot, we won't attack a lot, and we'll just kind of see who comes out on top in that respect. Like a lot of their games last year were very, very, very close. You can we all watched that Man City 2-1 where Man City just snatched it out of Liverpool's hands, and then they're
Yeah.
0-0. Was it 0-0 or one each? Their other game. So yeah, I agree with you. I was actually looking at that. A lot of people were like, "Why Firmino?" And that's the exact reason, because they have a hard fixture run coming up, and Firmino out of the top, I guess other 5 sides scored 6 goals out of 10. At 10 games, and not only that, but
Phenomenal
has
stat.
every single Mane goal this year apart from one, which was Robertson, has been a Firmino assist. So Mane bangs, Firmino
Oh
bangs.
shit!
That's
Really?
not even a joke. Yeah. So
That's such a good stat.
Firmino
Yeah.
for 9.5 million, you're getting those assists, you're getting those things. So really the question, and someone actually posted it on the chat here. Salah versus Mane, asks Claters. Salah versus Mane is really difficult, I think, because first of all, it's a transfer, right? If you've got Salah down to Mane, that means you're probably getting the money and you're going to invest it elsewhere. So that's two transfers. So it's not just Salah or Mane. It's Salah or Mane plus two free transfers, or maybe even a hit.
Yeah, yeah. I think firstly to quickly talk about Firmino one more time. I think he also got 3 assists in midweek
Oh,
against
he did, the
Salzburg as
fucking
well.
bastard. Yes, he
I know
did.
it always happens, doesn't it? Your players always do well
Yeah.
midweek,
I mean, he's a
but
good
yeah, he
player.
is. He looks great. I mean, Firmino's just quality, and I would, if budget would allow, I would have him in my team.
Yeah.
As it is, I've got Sebastian Haller, and such is life.
He did better than
But
Firmino. I seriously, he's doing
when
well.
I know, yeah, well, yeah. When it comes
13 games.
to Salah versus Mane, for me, it's always been about last season there's a 3 million gap, I believe, between them. I think
Yeah, it was
Mane was
such a
still quite
bigger
cheap and
topic.
Salah was more expensive, and that was a harder decision for me because Mane was joint golden boot, so he was level pegging with Salah. I'd say 30 points. I think it was about 30 points difference.
Yeah.
Maybe it's fair enough you spend a little bit less, but to this season, there's only 1 million between them, and I still feel as though Salah is the more likely player to come out on top. He's on penalties. He has set pieces away. He's already got an assist from a corner this season.
Yep.
So having that in his favour, I actually think outfield open play, Mane might be the better player.
He just finds those goals from anywhere, doesn't he? He just kind of has it where he can just turn it on and it's a goal from an awkward position with a very low XG. Whereas Salah definitely needs those open planes,
He's
which
like
he'll
Wilson
get.
in that sense. Yeah.
Yes. Or Vardy, I would say Vardy's another one. Any or I was gonna mention some Celtic players there, but yeah, no, there's a lot of them. All right, so Salah versus Mane then. Obviously, for anyone who's been playing this game for a long time, like don't downgrade Salah to Mane because you've probably got a lot of things to worry about. If you're on wildcard, it's a completely different story because you can waste some time. But even still, Salah's a blanket. He's a comfort blanket. It makes you feel nice and warm. You can wear him on the couch while you're watching the game. Whereas anyone who doesn't have that blanket is behind the couch. He's not even in the room. He's not watching.
And that was your experience in game week 7.
Exactly, and it panned out. But I would compare it to watching for a clean sheet actually. So watching Salah play without having him is like watching Trent Alexander-Arnold trying to keep a 0-0 draw intact. You know what I mean?
It's not pleasant.
No, I thought it would be fun to have loads of strikers. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Not.
And I think that's it. For me, what I like about Salah, and this will always be worth the extra million over Mane for me, is that because he's on penalties, regardless of what's going on in the game, there's always a chance that he's going to score. Even if Liverpool are being suffocated.
Yeah, and he's playing shit.
All it takes is for Matip to get elbowed in the box during a corner, for example. And Salah's going to have that opportunity. And that's just, for me, the extra million, which is probably going to equate to 6 penalty goals across the course of the season, is worth it. I would take that.
Yeah. Daft says Salah any day. Jim says that we've been streaming for 1 hour and 6 minutes, so let's move on to the rate my teams. he's a really good mod, I swear. Jim's on
it.
I call him Jimmy, Jim. Do you know what movie that's from? Does that ring a bell to you? Jimmy. No one on my stream got it.
No, I'm afraid it does. It's not Shaun of the Dead, is it?
No. It's Muppet Treasure Island. It's a weird one. Anyway, and the only reason I know that is because it's Billy Connolly that does it. That's
okay,
why. So that's it.
Are you related to Billy Connolly? I imagine in Scotland, everyone's related to everyone, right?
Hey, he's a treasure, okay? You leave Billy alone. Goldsco, beg to differ. Can't believe I'm named after a B-tier Muppets movie. Now you fucking take that back, Jim. That's the best. That's the best. Me and Erin McGathy, who used to be married to Dan Harmon, who created Rick and fucking Morty, right? That's her favorite movie, okay? So back off.
It's no Christmas Carol, is it? Let's face it.
You know what? Christmas Carol had its moments, okay? The part where Rizzo forgets his food and climbs the fence and is really scared about it and climbs over the fence, takes them ages, and then he's like, oh shit, I forgot my food, and then walks through the bars to go get his food and comes back, and you're just like, oh, you could have done that the whole time. You know that? I laughed at that. As a child, that was funny, okay? But has nothing on Muppets Treasure Island, and we can talk about movies all day. All right, so let me have a look at this. Is Son on your radars or avoid since Spurs are Spurs? Stefan says, only Dave give the Muppets this much thought. By the way, I could talk. Don't get me started on Ricky Gervais's Muppets, okay? Like, I could go on for hours. Let's go on to Son then.
Yeah, I like how Daft so free has put Spurs are Spurs, Stefan, so no.
I've got Son on my team just now. So I was on wildcard and I looked at, now I've got 3 million in the bank or thereabouts, right? So I was sitting there thinking, right, I want Aguero because his stats are out of this world, and he's actually putting up the best stats in the whole game right now with about 150 hours average, less than everyone else. 150 minutes, sorry, less than everyone else. Excuse me. Then he gets benched, but I also kept 3 million in the bank because I figured I really wanted Son. I don't know what's happening with Sterling, and I could bring in Mahrez, and I actually tweeted about it on the Thursday before game week. So I'm not gonna prep myself up too much, but I was thinking about Mahrez last week. Okay, you plebs, you fucking has-beens. Okay, everyone's talking about Mahrez this week, and I was thinking I'm gonna bring him on my wild card, but I think I'm gonna take Son instead, just for now, but I'll keep some money at the back. I'll do some tinkering and move people about so I can have money to either bring Mahrez in and then Vardy instead of Abraham, or bring Sterling in for Son straight swap and still have some money in the bank to maybe get like a 5.4 defender or something, like a little bit left over. And Son did well, and then they got, Aurier got a red card, and then that was his game pretty much over, right? 10 men versus 11. But yeah, we do need to mention that, Eriksen and all that shit that's going on with them behind the scenes, 7-2 against Bayern Munich, one of the worst Champions League. Like, they got to the final last year, and they're getting trolled by an Arsenal has-been, That's some bullshit. That's fucking mental. So what are you thinking now after, obviously, last week he played well, and he's playing more forward than Kane, and we've seen him bang all the time, right? But that 7-2 must halt any I want to bring Son in. That must give you pause, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, Spurs, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that they are a club in crisis. They are, even though they managed to grind out that win against Southampton last weekend, they are, that 7-2 would not have happened this time last season.
No.
And so
that's because they had Trippier. Who knew he was the key?
That's it. It's all about Kieran, mate. And look at Atletico.
I know they're flying
clean sheet after
How
clean
many
sheet.
Is anyone paying attention to them? How are they doing?
Yeah, they're doing well. I think they're doing okay in the Champions League, certainly. So right, okay. I don't know, maybe Trippier is the key component.
The glue. Here. He was stopping everyone from shagging everyone else's wife.
Well, that's what it is. And there are rumors. Whether these rumors are true or not, whenever they start coming out. And it, whenever a club is in turmoil and whenever results aren't going their way, that's when these rumours start emerging, right? I'm almost certain that there've been similar rumours at Man City, but they don't really find the light of day. And I think the fact that they're coming out and the fact they're being circulated is symptomatic of Tottenham's current situation.
What I think it is that and this is not something that I would tweet about, right? But it's always the team's fans that come up with actually, you know what, my grand's brother works as a doorman for whatever, and he heard that Eriksen's missus nearly shagged Vertonghen's. Exactly. And it's so it's not that Tottenham are shite, because no way Tottenham could just be shite. It's actually all this back end stuff, and it doesn't matter if Eriksen comes out and tweets saying bullshit, which he did. If you go onto Eriksen's Twitter right now, he actually retweeted something with comment and just said #bullshit, and it was
oh really?
I'll actually bring it up right now. Actually, let's go into it. So let's go find he tweeted that's really, really big. And no matter how many tweets he does, though, how many times he says that this is not right, look, they're bullshit, and it was this tweet is unavailable, so they've actually deleted it now.
Oh wow, yeah,
But
you're
it was
spotting drama as it
hashtag
unfolds.
bullshit. And it was someone saying, there was like a text message saying, oh yeah, no, Vertonghen shagged Eriksen's wife, and Kane was really annoyed, so there was a bust up and all that shit. Now,
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Now, regardless of whether that is true, right? It doesn't stop the fact that there's something wrong
Exactly.
with
Exactly.
Spurs. So therefore, Son is an issue.
But having said all of that,
Son doesn't speak English, so he has no fucking clue what anything's going on. I totally agree.
He's sat in the corner smiling.
He's thinking about his derby that's coming up, North Korea versus South Korea on the 15th. He doesn't give a fuck about Vertonghen. He actually didn't know Vertonghen was part of the team until someone pointed it out. I totally agree with you.
Well, he's at the other end of the pitch. So what is he supposed to do?
He actually doesn't look behind him. Yeah, no.
That's one of his USPs.
So far forward. All right.
But Son is a talented football player, and that sounds like such a rudimentary thing to say, but Son's talent is such that regardless of whatever, I mean, this is a man who scores consistently for South Korea.
Yeah.
So regardless of what's going on around him, he's always been the kind of player that has managed to create something out of nothing. This is something. Son is not a Mohamed Salah, and he's not a Callum Wilson. He doesn't thrive off massive, obvious opportunities. He kind of creates them for himself.
He's more like Mane, I would say. He's a Mane character.
Exactly. He's a Mane. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He's a very, very good finisher, but he does a lot of the work himself. So I would say that for 9.5 million, if he's playing consistently, the reason why Son is cheap is because he doesn't always play consistently. In the last few seasons, we've been used to seeing Son come off the bench frequently.
Yeah.
We've never really been able to guarantee minutes for him.
I think he's the only consistent player that they've had just now. Exactly. So they have to play him, right? He said 90. Exactly. So they gave him two matches because he was in the Asian Games, right? And he was working. I love the fact that he was actually playing so he didn't have to go to the army. Like that, just something about that gives me a hard on. Like he's sitting, he's like, I have to win gold so I don't have to deal with my fucking South Korean bullshit. That's some motivation, right?
That is like, who's going to play him in the film?
No, I know.
It should be Hollywood all over that storyline.
Yeah. And I bet he would do it while still playing for Tottenham because he's that hardworking. So he's had 90 minutes, then 78, then 90, then 90, and then 63 last game. But we can take that on the chin because they were 10 men down, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And funnily enough, I brought Aurier in just as like a differential last week, so that was great. So for me, Son is a great player, and as long as Tottenham are, they have the ball, he has the potential to do something awesome. And since game week 4, he has not delivered. He's always delivered. He'll keep trickling along. The only issue that I have as an owner with Son is that he has so many games coming up. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that he'll play this weekend. That doesn't bother me at all. Tottenham have something to prove after that 7-2. I'll bet you 20 quid that he plays because, the manager doesn't give a fuck about South Korea. And the only thing that I'm worried about is after the international break, when Son comes back, absolutely sweating buckets because he's been on a 28-hour flight, the day before. That's what I'm worried about. So if you're good for getting Son in for the next game and you're okay with that he might not play in 2 weeks, then that's cool with me.
One thing I would say about that though, Dave, is that let's not forget that this is a man who has pretty much never had a footballing break in his entire life.
Yeah.
An international break to Son would be strange. I feel like he'd be worse if he came back from a 2-week break. Son is, for me, fitness has never been an issue for Son, and I don't feel like Pochettino's ever worried about that. For me, it's always been a tactical issue with Pochettino, and I think that now that he's matured a bit, that tactical issue is no longer an issue. So I'll probably be proven wrong when after he comes back from the international break, he's rested. But for me, he's fit enough to play all of these games and be incredibly explosive in them.
Okay, So what we're saying is Son's always going to be a good pick. regardless of what the issues are at Tottenham, because they're still going to score goals. They might lose the game, but they'll still score. And Son's consistent enough, and he works for the goal. He'll create something himself, regardless if the teams are shit or not. The only issue is whether you want to waste a transfer on that. He has 2 good games, a very good game at Watford, game week 9, and then Liverpool, then Everton, and then Sheffield United. So that's 3 hard defenses. So I'm probably not going to own him past game week 9. Like I said, I've got 3 million to go from Son to Sterling. That might actually happen. I'm not 100% sure when that'll happen, but I'm probably going to do it. So we're going to take one more question, and then we'll go on to the Rate My Teams, because I would love to hear. So the way the Rate My Teams works is I've got a little slideshow, and I'm going to tell you who it is that posted it, and we're going to slag their team for like 2 minutes. And then at the end, we're going to do a fast version, like a quick draw round of all the Reddit ones that sent me their shit. Okay.
Cool.
So and before we move on to the last final question, Gold has posted in the chat saying Atletico are 4-2-1 this season, so 4 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. Sitting in 3rd place, have received 4 goals. So Trippier has only conceded 4 goals, which is half as much as what Watford received in 1 game, which is great.
Trippier may be the best defender in the world.
I think I was actually sad that he left. I know they have 3 of them, right? Because Foyth can play there and Aurier, but we've seen how fucking stupid Aurier is, and they desperately need Foyth back. But I digress. We've talked about Tottenham so much. All right, so the last question that we're going to take is, do you think, is from Brian950. Thank you very much, Brian. This is a great question. Do you think the template is too strong at the moment? Seems like I have more players hovering near 30% ownership than I did most of last season.
Great question. Yeah.
I'll let you take that. I'm going to take a nice, hefty, long drink.
Well, yes and no. I think that it would be interesting to look at the numbers, Brian, when it comes to the player ownership distribution this season compared to last season, because whilst part of me feels like there's a very, very clear and obvious template, there's another part of me that actually feels that there are too many premiums that are doing well this season, and that's part of the problem that I'm facing. In my own team, is that I want Aubameyang, I want Aguero. These are 2 of the highest scoring players in the whole game, and I don't own any of them. And the reason for that is that I also own Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, and Sterling, and that's without even looking into Son or Mane or any of the others that may be in that zone. So it's a tricky season in that it feels like every premium is performing, which kind of makes the template obvious, but also means that you have to forego at least 1 or 2 of those premiums.
Yeah.
I think budget wise, it's very, very template. I think the likes of, it's very unusual that you have a John Lundstram. Last season we had Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but whilst Wan-Bissaka was great, he was still a defender. The fact that they've actually made an error with Lundstram is a gift for FPL managers. And
I mean, the closest thing I would say is Doherty, and the only reason that he was close is because he actually scored an own goal game week 3 or game week 2, and then he went down in price 4.4, and I brought him in game week 4 for his assist. And then game week 5, he scored a goal and got a clean sheet, and then the rest is history. Then I started writing articles. That's not even a joke.
Oh really?
I was like, I'm picking amazing players. I should tell people about this shit. This is easy. I had Schlupp game week 1. That was my last year, and he was out of position and scored a goal game week 1.
Yeah, and that's it. That these out of position players so many good rare.
Ones. So I would say the out of positions this year are Martial is one of the big ones, right? But obviously hampered by injury. I'd say that if he wasn't injured, they would have Rashford on his natural position. They would have James working towards the right wing, which is not his preferred, but he wouldn't be an asset, but he would be good for Martial. I would think Martial would be flying right now. So it's actually a gift to those who aren't doing well, who didn't bring him in, that he got injured, because I think they would be so better off.
Agreed.
But yeah, Lundstrom's a great gift that I only brought in on wildcard. I was very reluctant to do that. And just going back to your team, you've got him too, right? Have you
Yeah,
got him?
yeah, I've got Lundstrom. Yeah, Lundstrom's a gift, but also, I mean, it's a weird season in that, Mason Mount's in there. Mason Mount it was 6 million at the start of the season. Like, this is an attacking midfielder for a top six side, and he's 6 million, and he's playing every single week. We've also got Todd Cantwell. Todd Cantwell's 4.5 million. He's one of the top scoring midfielders at the moment. So in that regard, we've got an incredibly, even Tomori, bless his heart, the first clean sheet was last game week, but even him, he's 4.5 million and he's starting every week for Chelsea.
Yep.
This is an unusual FPL season in that sense, and so I would say, in answer to the question, the template at the budget end of things is almost chooses itself. You can't really not have Campbell, and you can't really not have Lundstrom, because they're so cheap that you've got nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I used my wild card, is because I wanted to move all funds up north. And I was able to do so. Like in previous seasons, I wasn't able to do so. You needed. Alexander-Arnold was considered cheap last year, and he was 5 million, right? They're like, now you've got Tomori, you've got Farquad, you've got even Aurier before his red card was 4.9 million. Bolly for Wolves is 5 million. He Cresswell, who I'm thinking about bringing in, he's 4.9 million. You've got so many good attacking defenders this year, whereas last year it was, like you said, Wan-Bissaka and Doherty, and that was pretty much it. And then they skyrocketed because of that, right? So yeah, I think you answered that beautifully, by the way. You've done really, really well. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
All right, so you're ready for the so before that, you're ready for the Rate My Team, but before that, I just want to let you know, so we got hosted. Thank you very much to Mosa Samosa, who is a big have you ever played what's it called, World of Tanks? You ever played that game? Basically tanks attacking each other, right? He's
cool.
He plays it a lot, and he's now hosted us. He streams, and he's brought his followers along. So thank you very much for hosting.
Oh, cool.
And he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry," which is his way of saying, "I recognize that this is a special guest episode, and I'm glad you don't have the big notification on, because usually I get a big messy when people like I've got a thing. I'll actually play it for you. You can listen to it right now. Right here, this is what it sounds like. Oh, is it not playing? Oh, exactly. See, I muted it. See, it doesn't have anything on it. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna go on to another thing. Come on, work. There you go.
I still can't hear anything, but I think maybe your viewers can, but I can't.
Yeah, so they so Mamma Mia, exactly. People are in the chat. So it goes Messi, Mamma Mia. You know that guy, the Welsh guy that works for NBC, that does the Spanish La Liga commentary. He goes, he's a Jedi Knight. No, he's a Templar Knight.
Yeah, I know,
you know that guy.
Yeah,
so I've got him as my follower thing, saying Mamma Mia. That's him. So whenever someone thinks. So thank you very much to Mosa for the host, and thank you very much for saying sorry for doing that. You didn't know that this was a super special stream. And then someone asked, why is it special? Is it because the man who works for AA? Because he's wearing yellow. Oh, that's funny.
There is nothing special about this. Is Norwich colours, mate. This is Norwich colours. Representing my hometown.
And It's Raw knows my subscriber. So just a little plug here. So on the stream, I stream twice a week. Monday is the Monday after post. We go through everything, all my knowledge, everything that I pour into writing, I go through on the stream, all the fixtures, all that good stuff. And on Thursday, we're starting a new thing, which is this night, which is called FPL and Chill, which we're really just chilling, hanging out and having a laugh, talking about FPL, me doing a bunch of research and scaring people about how much I know about their personal lives. Oh.
It's scary and great fun in equal measure.
But so if you want to subscribe, that would be awesome. You're helping the stream out. I'm actually gonna, with the money that I get from the stream, I'm gonna purchase the Fantasy Football Scout membership, so I can actually use their stuff. And I know I write for them, but I don't want to ask them for a membership. I want to pay for it myself. but I don't want to pay for it myself. I want the stream to pay for it. So that's where I'm at right now. So if you stream, you get to hear, or sorry, if you subscribe, you get to hear this awesome thing, and you won't be able to hear it, but it's the Aguero, the famous Aguero. You know
Love
exactly
that.
what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And you know what the best part about that is, out of everything, is that it triggers Man City fans. Or Man United fans, sorry. It triggers them. They hate it. They hate it so much, which makes me so much better. All right, very last question. Would you have taken a -4 hit for Jorginho in and Guendouzi out? The answer is no. You're an idiot. Daffs. Right. Let's move on to the Rate My Teams. We've been going for about 19 minutes, so we're going into extra time really quickly here. I don't know how long I've got you here for. But we're going to take about 2 or 3 minutes per one, and then we'll do a quick round. I might need you for extra time. Is that okay? Are you good for chilling?
Oh yeah, I'm here all night.
Excellent. Perfect. Okay, so how do I do that? I go into editor mode, and then I click on this, and then I click show slideshow.
Let me just grab one more tin. I'll be back.
Yeah, do it.
My fridge is next to me.
Let's Talk FPL is in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. How was your stream, buddy? I appreciate it. Did you get my team, Dave? Liam, I did get your team. Thank you very much. Anyone who I don't get to on the Rate My Teams, I'm gonna do manually after the stream. Okay, so Liam, I don't think I'm gonna get to your stream just now. Or not your stream. I've been drinking too much, buddy. Sorry. I'm not gonna get to your team tonight. Unfortunately, I picked 4 from Twitter, and we're gonna do the rest on Twitter on Reddit as a quick fire round. Okay, but Liam and everyone else who's here who sent in their teams, thank you so much. If I don't get to your team, I'll do it manually. I'll send you a DM. Okay. Andy, let's talk FPL. How was your stream, buddy? I know you stream at 9 o'clock and you steal all my viewers. I'm just kidding. You know, Andy.
Yeah, Andy.
He's flying this year. Have you seen it? He brought
Absolute legend in the game.
His fucking, it's so annoying, right? So his team got stolen, right? And I'm selfishly thinking, like, all right, just 2 more million people being hacked, and I'm in with a shout of having a decent game week, right? And he gets hacked, right, which is shite. And then FPL, they get his team back and everything's good. And unfortunately, they've fucked with his team enough that he needs to use his wildcard this week. Who does he bring in? Fucking Yarmolenko, who scores. He had a great week. He kept Salah because it was his blanket. He kept fucking Sterling, who scored. Oh, it was great.
You know what though, he deserves it, because I think if you've had to endure the thought that you might not have a team come the next game week, you deserve to have a bit of a jammy wild card.
Exactly.
I actually think choosing Yarmolenko was a great choice. I'd also just say that I love the fact that even though Andy, he obviously had his team hacked, which is shite, and I know that for Andy, it's a big part of his life. You know, like FPL is like a very important part of their life, and you know he's known for his FPL team, but I think he handled it like an absolute champ.
Oh so, yeah, no, he tweeted. Did you see it? It was actually hilarious. I think I retweeted it, or I at least liked it. He tweeted saying like my team for next week, and it was just a blank picture.
Yeah.
That shit was awesome.
It into like some top quality banter.
Yeah, it was very very good. We're not without banter here in the FPL community. So
he sees the opportunity, and I think that considering the fact that the ramifications were probably quite high had it actually, you know, had it been a permanent thing, I think fair play to him. You know, it just shows you, it's not all about FPL.
The worst thing would have been his history, right? Andy there says seize the opportunity for some likes. Yeah.
That's it's what it's all about. Get those hearts on those tweets.
He's such a smug wanker. It was so good though. I wish I'd thought of it. I wish I'd tweeted something saying, you know, Andy's team for next week, and just like, you know, and I'd be like, oh, too soon, but he did it himself. Top banter, well done. Andy, by the way, I'm gonna message you. I'm gonna DM you eventually for this. You're gonna be going through here. I know you didn't watch it, but I basically went through Tongue and Loftus Cheek's entire like online history. We went through fantasy bet, we went through
It was
FF
horrible, man.
thing. It was
Don't do
great.
it.
So
Don't do
I'll
it.
DM
Stay
you.
out.
Right, let's get through to the rate my team. So